Okay, what I have in front of me is 3M General Trim Adhesive, Automotive Department, Walmart. Costs about $8 a can. You're probably going to use about half of it. This is found over in the roofing department in Lowe's, and it's very similar to Henry cloth. The other type of material I've used and works real well is screen door material. The physical weight is the same. The only difference is this has smaller holes and is easier for somebody to apply. It's less rigid. So essentially what I do is the first layer here covers the most span that I can get. And to be honest with you, if you're going to put any kind of power into the airframe, it's wise to double this up. And I'll do that when I get to that point. But I always allow myself an inch or two overhang before I finally position stuff. And you'll probably use a little bit of a roll there. I don't cross weave this at all. There's no reason to. It's not like zaggy tape. It doesn't. Everything holds together just fine and results in lighter build. But I line this side up with the tip here and try to keep it as straight as possible. It should line up with the trailing edge too. This piece here will overlap those. Generally I try about a ½ inch overlap. And then you just keep working your way up to the front. I pre-cut all my pieces. It just speeds the process up a little bit. So you're not constantly going back. And then once I finish top and bottom, I wrap the leading edge with a piece down each side. I usually cut one piece that's the length that I need plus a few inches. And then cut it in half. But like I said, I typically double up the center section here, and the main reason is because I want the most structural strength right across the spar section. And it goes on a lot easier as you start applying all this stuff. So that's my last piece. That's the nose. I lay them all out like I need them. And it looks like they're going to stay straight across there. But generally all I do start it like that. I'm using a scrap piece of cloth. You may have to hold it in place until it starts setting up a little bit. But you just go across there, work it down all the way to the tip, and you may need to trim off material as needed to get it to lay flat. It doesn't, just like any kind of material, it's going to resist it until this stuff starts setting up. So I got an old pair of scissors here, and I just trim off right with the tip there, and I'm able to make sure this stays down. Make sure you go across the trailing edge as much as you need to, and try not to work too big of an area that you can't manage. But in this temperature that I'm working in right now, this is going down real quick. So for the sake of the video, I'm going to try to do this as quickly as I can. Like I said, as the glue starts setting up, it'll start holding this material a lot better. And if you have to reapply the adhesive to get it to stay down, you can. It's not, it'll release it a little bit and allow you a little more work time. It's also good to keep a razor blade handy. So if you have to do any kind of trimming, you can do it without have to worry about pulling the material back up with using scissors. Scissors can grab a hold of the material and create a little bit of a problem. And I'm just going across this again here. And this process can generally take about 20 minutes or so for each side, maybe a little longer. It's really not that complicated of a process. At one time it was a big deal, but through just trying different methods and different adhesives, techniques, I'm able to get it down to a really small amount of time compared to what it took before. If you go across that seam, it's going to hold it in place here and allow me to finish this. And this is where a blade's going to come in handy, is right here around these tubes. It's also the reason that I double up, is just so I don't have to worry about this impacting the strength. Now I've got that there. Like I said, it's important just to work in an area that you can manage. You don't want to go too far too soon. It generally helps to make some relief cuts in this sometimes, so it conforms to the shape of the wing. Just giving that an extra amount because I didn't put a whole lot on there. The other thing would be is before I get too close to this leading edge, I trim it back. I don't, I try not to let this stuff overhang because it doesn't want to conform to the shape unless you start pulling and this, that, and the other. So I go to my leading edge and I just cut the material. I don't want to cut into the wing itself. But that allows the material to relax enough that it's a lot more manageable if you do that. I'll go ahead and take care of this other side. That way I can finish this one here. When you get to the leading edge, I'll let that sit for just a little bit. Just so it tacks up really well before I start fooling with it. Essentially, I'm going to be working on two sides of the wing at a time here. By the time this side starts tacking up really good, this side will stay down. And the thing is that you can always go back before you wrap the leading edge just to make sure it's completely down and it's not coming back up. Grab my next piece here. You can see I'm moving along here pretty quickly. It's not a real complicated process here. And this little bit of overlapping that we're doing here allows this each piece to hold the next one in place. And as this area gets a little smaller, it's easier to manage. Like I said, the key is just working the area that you can manage. If you've not done this yet, it's better to work your way up to working the whole thing at one time. Now, because I don't have my servos in here, I've got to trim that area so I can go back later and the material stays flat. You're just going to watch too as you're doing this and see if you're pulling on the material at all. As it starts to really tack up, it's easy to pull it one way or the other. So you have to be careful. Nose is the same way, but I split it. That's about an inch back, and the reason is because they'll need to overlap a little bit. I'll go ahead and trim that off. And the same on this other side here. And just make sure you're working one side of this at a time here. I'm going to glue both of it down. I'm going to let that tack up for a second. Take this big piece here. I'm going to line that up with my motor mount cut out. And this is going to give me that coverage I'm looking for. And again, I'm just going across this anywhere where I see it where to pull up. It's a good idea to relieve some of that by cutting. It's only if you need to. You don't want to make cuts you don't have to make. The other thing is this process also eliminates, or the way I do it anyways, eliminates the wait, 24-hour wait, 48-hour wait. Most people do, handling their wing. You have it last in 45 minutes to an hour completely, and not have to worry about waiting that long. Now that this had some time, get back up here and start working it down. half the wing here, just because this is a much larger area. And just making sure that that last layer gets a good coat. Everything bonds together like it's supposed to. And all that's left on this side is to trim up the trailing edge. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. You just want to make it manageable and not want to pull back on the material. So it's a good idea to use a very sharp, fresh blade for this. And find your edges. Just to get that stuff out of the way. And as that stuff starts setting up, it's going to get a lot harder to work with it. So it's important to get this stuff when you can. Just go around, double check, and make sure you don't have anything sticking up. Like I said, if you have to, you can reapply. You always go back that trailing edge just to make sure that's down.